Hello, Jack. Happy New Year.
Hi, Nicos. Happy New Year to you too. Did you have a nice time?
Yeah, it was quiet. I watched a lot of football.
There was plenty of games to watch, wasn't there? It seemed like almost every day around Christmas and New Year. So
Yeah,
it's been good for that.
yes. Let's start from last weekend's matches. Of course, we had a very interesting match at Anfield. Nobody expected the 2-2 draw, but at the end, it was like United could have won it in the end, and it would have been a disaster for Liverpool.
Yeah, that would have been a disaster. Yeah, what a dramatic game. You weren't expecting that. Do you want to run through some of the scores from last weekend and then we'll touch on the games
Yes,
individually?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, we had on Sunday um, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, an away win for Nottingham Forest. They're going really strong. Sunday we had Fulham, Ipswich 2-2 and Liverpool, Man United 2-2. On Saturday we had Newcastle's win away to Tottenham. Bournemouth 1-0 against Everton. Aston Villa 2-1 against Leicester. Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Man City 1-1. Man City, West Ham 4-1. Southampton, it looks like they're really struggling.
Yeah,
It's
very much.
0-5 against Brentford, and Brighton Arsenal 1-1 draw. So where shall we start from?
Yeah, I think we'll start with we always start with Man United because it's like the ongoing soap opera, isn't it? But I think it's the best place to start because then we can cover that and then move on to some of the other stories. Obviously, big surprise, wasn't it, for everybody? Huge surprise, how they played. They played really well. It wasn't just the result that was positive, it was the performance, wasn't it? It was much more like it, and nobody expected it. And Liverpool themselves didn't really expect it. They weren't at their maximum levels, were they either? But it led to an entertaining game, and it was certainly good for the neutrals watching. And yeah, you could have nicked it at the end there. Harry Maguire had a terrible pass to him, bobbling around, and he scooped it over the bar. It might have been offside, so that could have been a really dramatic finish. But what a game! I bet you enjoyed that one.
Well, everybody is saying that Liverpool didn't play well, but if you look at some tactical videos on the internet, you will see that United managed to cancel out some of the strong points of Liverpool. I mean, Mo Salah, for instance, he looked like he was not in the game.
Yeah, it was surprising, wasn't it? Because they're so quick and their transitions. We said about it before. Before you know it, they're counter attacked and it's in the back of your net. So, and he didn't seem to. He just sort of was slightly off it, wasn't he? And they weren't finding him as much. And the problem was also it was quite weak down that right hand side. Trent Alexander-Arnold had a terrible game. He had a nightmare. I don't know if it's been because of the links with Real Madrid and maybe it's put him off, or maybe that's in the back of his head. But he had his worst performance for a long time, and Diego Dallo was taking him on, and he was like the Salah of Man United. He was fantastic. He was. It was such a surprise to see.
Yeah, it was. And actually, the first half, both teams were canceling each other out. In the second half, they both came out, flying. There are some parts that the discipline went out of the way, and it was
It
end-to-end
did a bit. It
stuff.
did a bit. I mean, the game plans wasn't really being followed. What was obvious is that you had a bit more. Man United had a bit more dynamism. They had a bit more energy in the midfield, didn't they? Because you did because he made that decision, Amorim, against Newcastle in that the one that Newcastle won, where you put the two old guys in the centre midfield. The Casemiro and Ericsson. They're just far too old. So you took them out, put Ugarte in, put Mainu back. Obviously. Fernandez was back from suspension as well, so that helped, and he played well as well. You
And
just seemed to have a
Ugarte.
bit more pace about you,
Yeah, and
and Ugarte,
Ugarte.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
you had a
but
bit more pace about you in
yeah,
the midfield.
yeah, but Now, well, Casemiro and Eriksen, we've discussed this before. Now, with the pace and the power of the Premier League, it looks like they need to find another team to play football.
Yeah, they need to move on maybe, and I think at least one of them has to move on because they can't play together, and one of them has to have, if they play one or the other, they have to have a really energetic, athletic player alongside them to cover the ground because they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do that, are they? And to track back, to get forward, they need that dynamism. They've not got it at the moment because they're too old, aren't they? Now they're very talented players. They've been really, really good, strong players in the past. Fantastic, but international quality. But they're getting on a bit, and the Premier League doesn't wait for anyone. It's the most competitive, isn't it? And athletic league out of all of them. So you need maybe if you go to an Italy, they'll thrive, but in the Premier League, you can't get away with it, even having a couple of yards less pace than everybody else. What do you reckon? What do you think to Marcus Rashford's situation? I mean, he wasn't even in the squad again, and he might be on his way out in January, and
Well,
in the transfer window.
apparently he was sick, but who knows? I don't know.
He's always sick. There's always an excuse that he's been sick, or he's something else. But he's fallen out with Amorim, hasn't he? One way or the other. I think that's what it is, and they're trying to get him out.
But the thing, how are they going to transfer him out in January? Who's going to pay the transfer fee?
Well, yeah, they're not going to pay, but they're probably going to pay half the wages wherever he goes. The Dortmund are the latest club, and AC Milan have been linked with him as well today. So let's see. He might have to go abroad to get some minutes. Yeah.
Unless there is an exchange with another player, I don't see him going out in the transfer window.
Because you need to bring players in, don't you? You need a couple of players in to freshen things up. But Amorim was going to want to bring somebody in, surely, to
Definitely.
at least a player.
And to go out on loan is a big risk.
But apart from the game yesterday, obviously that was a surprise, as we say, and it was Man United fans were loving it, weren't they? And it was strange to see the performance from Liverpool, but Man United did play well. Apart from that, it's not been a very good start, really, has it, for Amorim? He lost a few games that he should have won, and then you've been outplayed. Newcastle completely outplayed you, especially in the first half last week. So he's not been had the impact that you thought he might have had, someone like Amorim. So maybe he should have come in at the end of the season, but it was sort of a take it or leave it, wasn't it, him coming earlier?
Well, we're going to judge the progress of the team now that he has time with the team to train, because he hasn't got before with all the matches midweek and the Premier League and the Christmas period where the matches were coming thick and fast. He kept saying in his press conferences that he didn't have time to train with the team. So we'll see what's going to happen from now on.
Yeah, but he's not had the impact like other managers have had, have he? So it's difficult. Maybe the squad's low on confidence, low on quality, and it's just tricky for anybody. It could be Pep could have gone in there and he would have struggled to. I know he struggled, but anybody would struggle to get a tune out of this team. So yeah, let's see how it goes. January's big few weeks ahead in January, and that's for Man United.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was surprised, even though Fulham is very strong at home. I was surprised with Arsenal. They keep dropping points. They want to win the championship, but if they keep dropping points like this, they're not going to make it, in my opinion.
Yeah, Arsenal are sort of being Arsenal, aren't they? They've fallen away a bit earlier than I was expecting. I mean, they drew at home to Everton 0-0 a few weeks back. Everyone thought that was the home banker, that guaranteed win almost. They drew with Brighton, didn't they, at the weekend? And there was other games where they've dropped points where you think, well, title-winning teams don't do that. They hold on to their leads, and
on the contrary, a championship winning team, they gain a lot of points, even in matches where they are not playing well.
Yeah, the classic Fergie teams did that for years, didn't they? They weren't always amazing on form, and they had the off days, but they always got that win. They always found a way, as they say. You find a way to get the win, even if it's in the last few minutes of the game. If anything, Arsenal were holding on against Brighton towards the end. It was the other way around.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
didn't have the impetus to go up the other end and nick it. So concerning for Arsenal, they've obviously got Saka is injured until at least March, I believe.
Yes.
So he's a big loss. They had that young player in Waneri who's looked quite lively and he's been quite good the last few weeks. He's been a decent replacement for Saka, to be honest, but he's had an injury concern as well, apparently, from the last game from Brighton. So we'll see on that one. But
They do have some
yeah,
injuries, but we'll see what's going to happen. Uh,
yeah.
okay, we have the Newcastle. It looks like they are flying. Your team.
Yeah, I mean, we were a few weeks ago. It wasn't looking too good, but now 5 wins in a row, 5 league wins in a row, and they're in the cup semi-finals as well, the Carabao Cup. It's all rosy at the moment. It's going
Yeah.
fantastically, and Eddie Howe's turned it around. I mean, it's been brilliant, and it's a joy to watch them. And when they're on song like this, it just reminds you of how good they can be. Because I said before they weren't showing consistency against the teams they should be beating. Towards the lower end or lower half of the table, they were doing the big games. They're playing well against the Liverpools at home and things like that. But they weren't showing it against like the Ipswiches. But then they went to Ipswich and won 4-0 away and it blew them away, and that's what you expect, and that's how it's been the last few weeks, and
Well,
everything seems to go in at the moment, especially for Isak, the striker everybody wants at the moment, Alexander Isak. So
yeah,
really
he's
happy.
flying. He's really flying. Isaac.
Yeah, he's probably the best player in the league at the moment. Maybe the best centre forward at least. Certainly better than Haaland at the moment. And some are saying he's got a better all round game than Haaland. So if anything, he's worth more than him at the moment. So let's see. I hope they keep hold of him because what a player! And he's almost he looks like he makes it easy. He's like an Henri at times. He dribbles with it. He can drop out wide. He can connect the play, but then he's pacey and he's through on goal and he can head it. There's not a lot he doesn't have, to be honest. He has it all. So and he's still quite young.
And
So let's hope he
your
carries on and
your
stays for as
your
long as
team
possible.
is within your prediction so far. So
Well, I said top four, and that was really optimistic. And I did say it was my heart over the head. But we're only 1 point off Chelsea at the moment, and they look like they were right up in the title mix, and they've slipped away as well. They've done a
yeah,
bit of an Arsenal, haven't they? They've dropped points. They drew at the weekend. They drew a few times. They drew with Fulham and as well a few weeks back, and it's so they've dropped off. So Newcastle, there's a top four spot, and it might even be 5 positions this year. It might be 1 to 5 for Champions League if the coefficient stays the same for Europe.
yeah.
So you never know. Champions League could be fifth place this season for the Premier League.
And
Fingers crossed on that.
of course, Postecoglou was really angry after the match.
Postecoglou was not happy, was he? He was saying about it not being an even playing field, or if all was fair and all that. He was just trying to sort of jump around what he really wanted to say, which was that he felt it shouldn't have been a goal for Newcastle with the handball incident when it hit Joe Linton's hand. That's what he was trying to say, and he was trying to say a few decisions went against them, but I don't know. They thought we say with Spurs, don't we? They blow hot and cold. They don't tend to find that level of consistency that you need, and they've really dropped off. They're right down there. I see on the table here they're 12th. I mean, that's quite shocking, really, considering the resources he's got. I mean, the players he's got
Yeah.
on a full strength team. So
Well,
yeah, I know they've had injuries, but every team's had injuries, haven't they, this season?
and the pleasant surprise, as we keep saying, is Nottingham Forest. So they are really playing well. So, what do you think is going to
Yeah.
happen with Nottingham Forest?
Well, yeah, I mean, a few people saying, "Oh, can they do a Leicester and all that?" But I think the difference is when Leicester won the title, the big teams, the big clubs, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Man Cities, all that sort of thing. They didn't have a good season; they were all off it. But Liverpool are so far. Well, they're not that far ahead. They're 6 points ahead with a game in hand, so they could be 9 points. I don't think Forest have got it in them to win the title, but they've won six in a row. They've been fantastic. They've been on great form, and last night. The Monday night game away at Wolves, tough place to go on a night game under the lights there, and they've had a resurgence under their new manager Pereira, but they got the job done. They were up against it because Wolves had the better of the play first half, but they came on strong. They took their chances. They were clinical, and they looked like a top four team. They did. They looked like they deserved to be in those top
Yeah,
spots. So
you're
good
absolutely
luck to
right.
them. I'm pleased for them. I'm glad they're up there, and I like the manager. He comes across as a nice guy, Nuno,
Yeah.
and what a job he's doing.
I thought Nuno was going to do well at Spurs, but Spurs, you never know what's going to happen with it.
No, it was sort of an anomaly there, didn't it? You think he would do well there because he's a good manager, but he just couldn't find
Yeah.
a way at Spurs. But yeah, he's shown everyone what he's about at Nottingham Forest, that's for sure.
So
So I hope that continues for him. Good luck to him.
yeah, and at the other end of the table, I mean, we're getting into the business end of the season, and it looks like Southampton, Ipswich are struggling, and
Yeah, I think, well, on that one, I think Southampton, I think most people would say now that it doesn't look very good for them at all, does it? It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get out of it. They're not going to be
yeah,
able to drag themselves. They've just not got the quality. And they brought in a new manager, but he's already looking like he can't find the answers. And the record low in the Premier League era was 11 points from Derby, and they're on six, Southampton, and we're on 20 games. I can't see where they're going to get another point from, let alone 5, 6 to beat the record. So the record low, that is. So we'll see how they get on. But Brentford hadn't. They were a good team, Brentford, but they haven't won away all season until they went to Southampton and then beat them 5-0. So that just shows you where Southampton are. I
yeah,
think confidence is rock bottom. I actually saw Nikos. I actually saw something on online, and it was Southampton. There was a lady in the Southampton hospitality section of the game of the weekend, and they did a prediction. Everybody in the ground, they do a prediction of the score, and she predicted 5-0 defeat for Southampton. And she won a prize because it was 5-0. She won the prize. So there's a video of her going up to collect a signed shirt from one of the players, Adam Armstrong, who just played in the game where they lost 5-0. There was people clapping them, there were people booing them. It was like a joke. It was like, how embarrassing. So she won the prize for guessing that they would lose 5-0 at home. And one of the players gave her the shirt. It was just really, it just summed it all up. It's
I
just
I, I
what's
watched I
going on
watched
down
that
there.
video clip. Yes,
Did you see it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's quite unbelievable.
yeah. Um,
But
so
I think Ipswich have got better though, haven't they? Ipswich have improved slightly. They've got some points on the board. They beat Chelsea at home, and they got a good draw away at Fulham. They could have,
the
they couldn't hold on at the end, but they got a good point at Fulham.
the thing is, you probably need 40 points to avoid relegation. Well, in the past it
Well,
was
between 35 and 40, I'd say
35
now. I
and
think
40. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, 16 points after 20 games. So what's that? That's about just over 30 they could stay up on at the moment because Wolves are outside the relegation zone on 16 points from 20, and that's just over half. So 32 would do it, maybe 33, maybe.
and
We're
now
quite low bar this
and
year.
and now Everton are down there as well. So
Yeah, I mean
it's
Everton. It's not going very well for Everton, is it? And their manager came out and said, Sean Dyche came out and said, you know, things would be a bit better if we'd have, if they, in that run, it would have looked better. We would have got some wins. But that's sort of the obvious thing to say. They're not finding the wins. They're not scoring. I think they've even scored less than Southampton. That's how bad things are.
yeah.
They've got. I heard a stat the other day. They said none of their players are in the top 50 in their position for touches in the opposition box, and the only person who is their striker Calvert-Lewin, who's on the bench now. They put Broyer in, and he couldn't score. So it's not looking good for Everton, and it's their last season, I think, in their stadium. So in Goodison Park, famous old stadium. So it'd
They
be a
they're
disaster if they went down and started
yeah.
the new season in that lovely stadium in the Championship.
I think they're going to start some test events for the new stadium. I'm not sure whether they will use it this year's season or we'll be ready for
It's going
next
to be
season.
next season, but they might want to test it for the Championship theme tune because it's not looking good at the moment. They're certainly going to struggle to stay in the Premier League the way it's going for them.
And it's the second year in a row because last year, if you remember, they managed to stay up at the end.
The thing that might keep them up is, they were struggling last season, and the year before they struggled, and they had points deductions, didn't they? But they still stayed up because they had that community spirit. All the fans got together. It felt like they were thinking, well, we might as well get behind them and try and keep them up because they've got a proud record of staying up for all these years, and they've got the famous Goodison Park that they're going to be saying goodbye to. I reckon it might be one of those where they all get behind the team and it drives them on. But having said that, and I'd like to see him stay up, but there's only so much fan power can do, and also they can't just keep struggling every single season, can they? Because eventually, like Newcastle did, Aston Villa did, West Ham did, these big clubs have all been relegated in the last 20 years on several occasions for some of them. And you think, well, you can't just rely on the fans and the stature of the club. Ultimately, the players aren't good enough, and the manager's not really doing a decent job with them. He's not. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be the style of play isn't suited, and I don't know. They're just not good enough all round as a whole unit. The coaching team, the players. There's only so much that can go, surely. But I still think, having said that, I still think they will just about stay up. But it's not looking good. It's not looking promising, is it, for Everton? To be
No,
honest.
no, no, it doesn't. So this weekend we have the FA Cup, and okay, one match that
Yeah, a
stands
bit of a break
out.
for the Premier League.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one. There was really only one match that stands out. Is Arsenal Man United.
The big games come every week now, don't they, for Man United? I mean,
Yeah,
that's crazy how that's the next game. One of the next games. So you also got and also like it's Arsenal Spurs next week as well. After that, the next Wednesday. So there's some other big games. Who else? We got Man United. Right. So the next game after that is Man United Southampton. So you would think that Man United should have that. That should be a chance to get the confidence back in. Maybe maybe bring Rashford back in if he's still there. Give him a bit of confidence. I don't know. That should be a good game for Man United because they've had it tough for the last few weeks, haven't they? They've had it really tough.
yeah, but we will see whether with the FA Cup. Okay, I know it's a completely different competition, and but we'll see whether they will have some kind of consistency from the Liverpool match because it's another week of training with the players. So we see whether they adapt to the new system and what the Amorim wants from the players.
Yeah, I mean that was a tough draw, wasn't it? Getting Arsenal in the cup, and yeah, you're just thinking, could Man United, like what Ten Hag did? The cups did a lot for Ten Hag, didn't they? He
Yes,
got the League Cup. Unfortunately, it was against Newcastle. They won the League Cup. Then they surprised everyone again in the FA Cup final when they beat Man City. The year after losing it to them, and that basically kept him in the job. The cups. So to have Arsenal in the FA Cup is a tough one, but it's a cup competition, and Arsenal might rest a few players.
and
Gives you a chance to add a few
United
others in.
they are the cup holders, so there is the added incentive.
Yeah, there's that incentive to retain it, and they've shown that they can beat the big teams in the cup, haven't they? So over the last couple of years, anyway. So he'll be a hero if you can get them an FA Cup, and you can build on that, and it gives you a bit of confidence. So we'll see. It's another big game, and Newcastle have got an easy. Well, you think it would be an easy game. They've got Bromley at home, and they're from the League Two, the fourth division down. So there will be lots of changes for that, and we've obviously got the League Cup semi-finals this week as well. We've got Newcastle away at Arsenal and Spurs against Liverpool. So there's some really good games coming every day that are brilliant at the moment. It's really entertaining, isn't it, to watch all these brilliant games.
Yes, it's the exciting part of the season. and,
I like it this time of year. It's great. All these competitions. They got the Champions League coming up, and it's just great to have so much to watch. And
yeah.
and I'm just really happy, obviously, because Newcastle are just on a roll. So I love every time watching them now. But obviously, so I watch them whatever. But when you're in a bad run of form and you're thinking, oh, are they going to turn up? Is it going to be another defeat? You know. I know you've had that feeling, haven't you, this season with Man United, where you're just thinking, "Oh my word,
Not
what's it going
not
to be
only
the
this
score this week?"
season, Jack. The last few seasons.
The last few seasons, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
let's leave it at that, and we'll come back next week and see. Hopefully, we'll have some upsets in the FA Cup. And
Man United might beat Arsenal. That would be a surprise.
there are a lot of matches in this round, so we'll see if there will be any upsets and discuss even more.
Exactly. Okay. I'll speak to you next week then, Nicos.
Right. See you.
Thank you. Bye.